Hello,
Hey,
welcome.
Pam. Hi, Sherry. Hi,
Hi.
Carol. I owe an email to.
Hi, Judith.
Hi there.
Hi, Dawn.
Hi.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
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 Hi
Hi.
there.
Hello.
Welcome. Okay, Dawn, or should we start?
Yes, yes. Well, Judith is going to be leading us today, and she just got back late last night from Costa Rica. So her travels are going to be woven through our program today. But welcome to you all. I'm very glad you're all here, and I'll turn it over to Judith.
Thank you, Dawn. My cat has just arrived also. You can imagine cats are interested in people who have been away for a week. He may land up on my lap and I'll have to show him to you, but yeah, so please forgive me if I'm a little woolly because I got home at 1 in the morning yesterday after flying from the warm climes of Costa Rica. But so this has been kind of an interesting experience when I put out the theme for this gathering today. I talked about it being all the ways of Epiphany, and I had the intuition that my trip was going to give me some material. And lo and behold, it certainly did. And I'd like to just tell you a bit of a story, and then I'd like to show you some slides of Costa Rica with its bright sunshine, and also just talk about all the ways that we can think about Epiphany. I mean, certainly today is Epiphany in the Christian calendar, the day when Christ is presented at the temple. This idea of the holiness being manifest. And that notion in Epiphany that, that there are moments when what we know, it arrives in our consciousness illuminated. That kind of magical time when something really lights up for us. And I think we've all experienced that kind of epiphany. The more ordinary kind of epiphany is just, aha, I didn't even think of that, but yes, that's true. And then there's a sense of epiphany also that has to do with the kind of the arrival of the spirit of, say, a goddess like Artemis at Ephesus in her temple there. Like when people come, when there's devotion, when the right combination of energies occur, then the goddess herself arrives in a statue. That notion of epiphany I really quite love and have certainly experienced different times in my life. And that will be part of the story we're telling today. So I'm going to start this story just first telling you that I went to Costa Rica because a friend's daughter married a Costa Rican man, and his family had a beautiful estate, basically, that we all got to participate in. So that was my excuse for going to Costa Rica. Truly was to go to attend this wedding. But 33 years ago, I had gone to Costa Rica as part of a conference that was called Toward the True Meaning of Peace. And it was, late 80s, the beginning of people talking a lot about sustainability and about understanding the place we have in the natural world, the importance of spirituality in saving our planet. That all the themes that are so very important to us today were kind of just beginning. And the Dalai Lama was the convener of this conference. And he was in his prime and just an extraordinary presence. And there were people from all the different faith traditions there, as well as indigenous folk from that area and indigenous folk from also from the North American continent. And as I recall that week, that was really life changing for me and extraordinary. And I got to present for the first time as a young woman, to this august batch of people. So it was a very high, exciting, wonderful moment. And the highlight of it was going to this cathedral in outside of the main venue in San Jose, Costa Rica, to Cartago, which is an hour or so away. And I'll never forget, the whole town turned out because we were all foreigners showing up in Costa Rica. People with their children on their shoulders, and the whole town lining the streets as we all walked into this beautiful basilica. And a beautiful Celtic singer sang with a drone instrument and sang the Dalai Lama down the aisle of this Catholic cathedral. And one by one, there were people from the Islamic faith, from the Jewish faith, from indigenous tribes, came and made blessings. And it was like one of those moments like you want it to be, like the world ought to be that way. Okay, so I'm telling you that story because I didn't realize at that time that this cathedral was named for Nuestra Señora des Ángeles, Our Lady of the Angels, and that in fact a Black Madonna is in this cathedral. So my first aha was that this place that I had revered and remembered all these years was actually connected to all the other places I dearly love in this world, where Mary is honored in all her forms. So let me show you some pictures. So there's the cathedral at Cartago, and the angels are all around. I was staying at a hotel about an hour away from this, and I got a taxi and came in I just noticed all the pigeons sitting all over Mary and the baby. How nice. I came in on New Year's Eve, and there was a mass going on, so I came into this beautiful place. And this is a replica I just bought of the Nuestra Señora. And the story is that and this is such a typical Marian story, there's this young peasant girl who finds a statue on a rock and takes it somewhere. And mysteriously, the statue appears back at the rock the next day. There's also a spring next to the rock. And this happens several times until, at last, the powers that be, as they did for the Virgin of Guadalupe, built a church for her. So beside this church, there is a rock where the statue is supposedly found, and holy water coming. I should give you some holy water next after we go. So this statue is actually very tiny, and you can barely see her. She's in this reliquary here. This is the main event in the cathedral, and back of the high altar, that she's in that little glass case with the angels all around her. And there's another view of her. That little part you can see that's kind of green is the statue itself. So the whole cathedral is dedicated to her. And as I sat down in the Mass with the faithful, lots of people on their knees, crawling on their knees toward the altar, a very moving, beautiful assembly of people. I felt the same thing I felt in Chartres and in Lourdes, and in other places where Mary's energy is honored and beloved. That is an epiphany. She arrives in these statues and these places, in my experience. And there's a feeling about it. There's closer, a little blurry, but nonetheless. So all this finery, and here's this very simple statue. And you do see this statue all over Costa Rica, just like you see the Virgin of Guadalupe in Mexico. So it occurred to me that she's always been there in my life. At this conference that really, I think, began a lot of my work as a spiritual teacher, it really began there. And there she was, and I didn't even know it. So that sense of revelation and surprise and epiphany happened. So the other part of my Costa Rican adventure 33 years ago was going to a place called Monteverde. I hope some of you have been there. I know Norma has, she told me. And it's an extraordinarily beautiful place up in the mountains. And 33 years ago, there was hardly anything there by way of hotels or tourist destinations, but this cloud forest preserve has been there for all those years. So we came up this time on a bus, many of us from the wedding, and this rainbow greeted us as we arrived to the cloud forest. And the next day we took a hike, and 33 years ago I'd done this by myself, And I was really looking forward to seeing this same place again, because there's a particular part of Monteverde Reserve that's called La Ventana, and that means the window. And it's a narrow part of Costa Rica where one can see both the Pacific and the Atlantic Oceans. And 33 years ago, I had gone there alone and really had an epiphany of my body being the four directions. Somehow, in one hand was the Pacific and the other hand was the Atlantic, and I was on the continental divide, so I felt like my spine was the north and the south. And I can't explain that any more than that, just felt like a benediction of sorts. So I was looking forward to going back. 33 years ago, it was very cloudy, so I couldn't actually see the Pacific and the Atlantic, had to take it on faith. So we're walking, and you can see it is a beautiful day. And just to give you some sense of the vegetation, I think at this time of the winter we can all use a little green like this. It was just an elixir to be among the green lands like this. Beautiful light. I think of Epiphany also as light manifest, enlightening that which you see around you, making it even more beautiful. So again, the light, these giant ferns. Look up in the sky, the trees are all crowding, but then you see the blue sky through it. Beautiful, beautiful light. And then I looked over and saw this tree, and to my mind, this looks a bit like the shape of Kuan Yin. I'm going to show you a contrast here, but I looked and thought, oh, there she is again. And just as she was lighted or backlit by this beautiful dappled sunlight coming through the trees. And she reminded me, I'll call her she here, of this statue or this stone from the calendar stones where I was last May. Many of you have seen these pictures, I think, but how is it, that I can project my sense of the sacred feminine to nature and then receive this sort of wonderful benediction from that? And I'm sure you've all had this experience of just, being in nature, and all of a sudden all the meaningful things you have inside of you are projected outward. And there she was. So that was on the way up to La Ventana again. Yeah. More dappled sunlight. And that's my favorite of the pictures. Somehow that one came out just the way I wanted it to be. God bless the iPhone. So we came up to the La Ventana. This time it isn't just a clearing in the road. It's got a big place to sit and people sitting. And, 33 years later, this is a tourist attraction. But it was clear. So there's the Pacific side. And the land in the background there is the Nicoya Peninsula, but that is the Pacific Ocean there. And then just steps away, 5 steps away, you're looking out now toward the Caribbean or the Atlantic Ocean. So this sense of being back at this crossroads. And the epiphany being that I had to take it on faith last time. This time I saw. And that was just such a gift. That's my bit of a travel log here, but I hope it's inspiring to you and also recalls some of the ways that you've experienced epiphanies in your life, or the ways you might like to experience. The way that the divine meets us truly. And can't make that happen. Often there just has to be an openness to revelation. And taking in and receiving what is always here for us. So as we do our walk today, you might want to walk with that notion of remembering or seeing what is an epiphany in your life at this very moment. I know my dear friend Ruth is not here today, and I'm sure we all miss her, truly. So I'd like to sing us into our walk with a song I learned with her, an Ave Maria, given we're speaking of Mary today. But before any of that, I have the holy water here, and through the magic of Zoom, I think Zoom has this quality. I'd like to send it up to you all. Yeah, the very last thing that happened when I was taking an Uber to the airport is I got in the car with Giovanni, and there on his dashboard is a little statue of Nuestra Senora. I said, "Oh, Nuestra Senora." He said, "Sí, sí," and then he says, "Agua." No, holy water. My Spanish is terrible, and he had holy water carrying along with him too. So I got taken to the airport by a devoted man there. That was pretty sweet. So I will sing one Ave Maria, and then I'll play the flute for you for the labyrinth walk. That'll be about 10 minutes. So let's get our labyrinths out and show each other. Oh no, I have a cat on my labyrinth. Come on, Tully. Come on, sweetheart. I don't know if anybody saw that, but Tully was right on top of it. And then put the labyrinth down in front of you and lay some hands on there. I'll move things around here. Let your eyes close for a moment and breathe in. Breathe in what you very much need at this moment, whatever that might be. And breathe in through every part of your body. Breathe in through your heart, your feet, top of your head, your strong spine, tuning into all parts of the body to allow yourself to be ready and attuned. Let yourself feel the presence of Mother Gaia beneath us in your very soggy or not part of the world. Breathing in the stability and beauty of our Mother, of the earth. Receiving in anything you need from this source that's always available to us. And by the same token, as we often do, tuning into the realms above and receiving in the gifts of the cosmos, of the vastness, of the outer world, of the stars and the full moon last night. Receiving in any illumination you might need, imagining that flowing throughout all the rivers of energy in your body, through your blood, through your nervous system, through the subtle bodies and the meridians and chakras. Just allowing your imagination to give you a wonderful shower of energy coming all the way through, connecting heaven and earth as we do. And you might recall that green world I just showed you. Allow that nourishment in, the green nourishment that we don't get enough of this time of year. Here in the north, and those of you in Australia, just look outside and feel all the highness of summer coming your way. Just feeling that though. And then recalling if you've had an experience of anything like I was describing, of standing in front of a statue of a deity or a natural phenomena, and feeling the sudden influx of light and presence that a true epiphany is. Divinity made manifest. So let this prime you up for this labyrinth walk we'll do together for the next 10 minutes. And of course, as always, allowing this to be whatever you need it to be. Letting your fingers tread this ancient path that we all love so very much. And as we do this together in community, sensing the worldwide connection between us all. Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum, benedicta tu in mulieribus, et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus. Sancta Maria, Mater Dei, ora pro nobis peccatoribus, nunc et in hora mortis nostrae. Amen. gratia plena, Dominus tecum, benedicta tu in mulieribus, et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus. Sancta Maria, Mater Dei, ora pro nobis peccatoribus, et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus. Sancta Maria, Mater Dei, ora pro nobis peccatoribus, nunc et in hora mortis nostrae. Amen. So from wherever you've been on your walk or in meditation, come back to your hands on the labyrinth again, please. Just feeling how your labyrinth feels under your hands. We're bringing our energy to it, this piece of wood or plastic or paper. And in much the way a statue in the ancient world was made holy and embodied the god or goddess it contained, so we do that with the labyrinth. We bring it to life as we touch it. And we also bring alive the connection of all these labyrinths the world over. We bring our connection to the Chartres Cathedral labyrinth, whether or not you've put your body there. Feeling the connections between this network of holiness, the planet over. From the western desert of Australia to Sydney, to Hawaii, to the west coast of the United States, to La Falda, Argentina, to a labyrinth that should be in Costa Rica, to the East Coast, to Saskatchewan, all the places you may know of labyrinths being. Just feel that connection and send out the Epiphany light throughout that network to anybody that might be walking on one right now or dreaming of one. Just let that connection be present. It's as we believe it and as we pray for it, so therefore it is. It connects. And just take a moment and through this connected web we've just imagined, send your prayers for the well-being of others, for peace, for health, for miracles. Take a moment and let those prayers run through our beautiful circle of connection. And then also receive that back into your very own body, mind, heart, soul, spirit. Let the light come. Let the blessings flow. And take some more deep breaths, breathing in heaven and earth to your own internal network of energy. And take your time coming back to presence here with your brothers and sisters the world over, and we'll